So, 2026 is a hellscape? Honestly feel I could end the video right there. Remember to like and subscribe. But seriously, the video game industry's slow inevitable decline into an overly monetized, predatory, micro and now macro transaction laden hellscape has been well documented over the years. And I was there for it all. I remember a more innocent time, when games came in cereal boxes, and if developers wanted to release more content for the same game, they sold you a completely different product called an expansion pack. You had your StarCraft with Brood Wars. You had your Warcraft 3 with the Frozen Throne. Your Morrowind with Tribunal and Blood Moon. And speaking of the decline of video games from their early 2000s peak, along came the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion and that bloody horse armour that opened the gates to Oblivion in a more literal sense and normalised the idea of charging small amounts of money for utterly useless tat. I was there when Blizzard Entertainment normalised surprise mechanics in Overwatch. I witnessed the rise of sight unseen season passes and the Fortnite-style battle passes designed to hook players and keep them grinding out of obligation rather than anything even remotely resembling fun. I think what I'm trying to say is, I'm a veteran of this particular war. And yet, fundamentally, I don't actually mind occasionally opening my wallet and parting with some of my hard-earned cash to reward a developer even after the point of purchase. What I found interesting though, is that 3 games I've played recently have all been vying for a treat more aggressively than my dog demanding praise for pissing on the puppy mat instead of my side of the bed. And that makes for an interesting case study. Because out of these 3 games, one has me seriously considering spending 80 quid on the largest premium currency bundle. One I had spent a substantial amount on in the past, but have absolutely no desire to spend any more than the absolute bare minimum to access the new story content. And one whose grotesque monetisation made my bollocks try to retreat so far up inside my body that I nearly choked to death on my own gonads. Those 3 games were, in reverse order, Diablo 4, World of Warcraft Retail, and Helldivers 2. So let's start with the most egregious, shall we? Diablo 4 is actually a pretty decent game. The moment-to-moment gameplay is fast and frenetic, and when I get a 500 plus massacre kill streak while mowing down hordes of demons with my paladin, flinging blessed hammers around like an angry Blade, only to be showered in a mountain of legendary loot, mate, it leaves me harder than a packet of dodgy petrol station boner pills that really shouldn't be sold to anyone over 50. The game is good, is me point. But the cash shop extracts no small amount of piss. 21 fucking quid for a single World of Warcraft inspired skin. And because it's all on a rotating cash shop, if you wanted to buy just the newest Warcraft skins, excluding the mount, you'd be set back 168 quid if you were to buy them individually. But fear not, Wanderer, for we have a special discount available right now, where you could buy the whole bundle for only 42 quid. That's 75% off. Limited time only. Don't miss out. However, you'd be well north of a whopping 560 quid to unlock everything Warcraft related currently in the shop at this time of writing. Yeah, I'm good game, thanks. Truthfully, I prefer Diablo 3 seasons, where unique items and cosmetics were unlocked through the seasonal journey itself. At the time of writing, I'm currently playing through Diablo 4's 13th season, after the launch of the Lord of Hatred expansion. A sizable chunk of story and gameplay content that I genuinely didn't mind paying the 35 quid entry price for. We'll get to collector's editions and deluxe editions later. But in the current season of Diablo 4, all the seasonal bonuses are tied to charms with no cosmetic effects attached. Sure, there's a perfectly adequate transmog system preventing me from looking like I fell backwards through a charity shop, but there's no visual progression I actually care about. Only bigger numbers. Now, I mostly play solo, but I constantly joke I like to play with myself where other people can see me, which is presumably why I became a Twitch streamer. But even then, all the best visual upgrades are unlocked behind the cash shop with absolutely no way to earn them in-game. What are you on about, Yindy? You can unlock premium currency in-game. Mate, 200 platinum on the free battle pass is hardly meaningful. And is conveniently the exact amount to unlock the first tier of the paid battle pass. Almost like you were trying to install a sunk cost mentality of, well, I might as well. I've come this far. No, Diablo, I see exactly what you're doing. And no, I don't care how many times you flash a shiny new HD model or World of Warcraft's Anzu the Ravenlord at me. Amount I admittedly spent 5 years bloody grinding for with absolutely no exaggeration. I still rather endure one of Milo's farts directly into my mouth after he conveniently aimed it at my face while sleeping. It also might have something to do with Diablo's seasonal structure. As cool as some of the skins are, I know that once the season ends and my character retires to the old folks' home known as the Eternal Realm, I'm probably never going to touch them again. Instead, when I return, I'll just roll a new character for that current season. My old character, forever condemned to gather dust on the character select screen like an old forgotten swimming trophy. So, let's move on to the next game on this list. World of Warcraft Retail. Currently, midnight. I returned to Warcraft for the first time in nearly 10 years, which is honestly terrifying to think about. I played Warcraft almost religiously from 2006 towards the end of the Burning Crusade, all the way through to Legion and the Battle of Azeroth around 2016 to 2018. And now, in the year of our Lord 2006, I've almost been away from Warcraft for the same amount of time that I originally played for. Christ, a lot has changed. Least of which, my attitude towards WoW's collector's editions. Back in 2008, I stumbled across a Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King collector's edition in some dodgy back alley game shop in Glasgow. To this day, it's still one of my favourite purchases. In it, you got an art book, a mouse mat, behind the scenes DVDs, exclusive cards for the World of Warcraft trading card game, who remembers that, right? And a bunch of cool in-game items, which I actually never received, because I'm fairly certain the dodgy bloke running the shop swapped out my code for a regular edition key. But I didn't even care. It looked amazing on my shelf. And from that point on, it became a tradition. I bought every collector's edition going forward. Not just for Warcraft, but also for Diablo 3 and the StarCraft 2 expansions, whose collector's editions were every bit just as impressive. Diablo 3's even came up with a light-up Soulstone USB containing a complete DRM-free copy of Diablo 2. That was cool as hell! Yes, pun intended. Then, World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth happened. And something in me died that day. After the phenomenal banger that was Legion, easily my favourite expansion after Wrath of the Lich King, with its own killer collector's edition and badass flying remake of my boy Anzu, the Battle for Azeroth edition felt hollow. Sure, the box still looked nice on the shelf alongside the others, and yes, it came with the usual digital goodies, but the physical contents basically boiled down to a download code, an illustrated retelling of the Burning of Tidrasil, a reversible Horde Alliance medallion sitting on a cheap plastic stand, no artbook, no behind the scenes DVD, no cool USB of bonus materials, just a random chunk of metal for the astronomical price of 120 quid. That killed collector's editions for me. I even left a strongly worded Amazon review for BFA, not criticising the expansion itself, but calling out Blizzard Entertainment for just how embarrassing and lazy an excuse for a collector's edition this was. And you want to know the weirdest part? The hardcore Warcraft fanboy still came after me in the Amazon review comments, like I had personally criticised their erotic Goldshire RP calling it unoriginal and hackneyed. Which it is, saying I was a casual and that I should be grateful to Big Daddy Blizzard. Mate, I wasn't attacking the game. But if no one pushes back, this is exactly why we stopped getting nice things. I don't think it's controversial these days to say Battle for Azeroth put a lot of people off. But when returning for midnight, and making the financially questionable decision to trust Blizzard with my money yet again, I found myself facing a dilemma. Do I continue the tradition of buying the physical collector's edition off Amazon and exposing the massive gap of expansions that I had missed over the last decade? Or do I settle for the Ultimate or Deluxe Edition with extra cosmetics and mounts? Or do I embrace my inner peasant and buy the bog standard basic bitch edition just to gain access to the new content? The exact same dilemma I faced when buying Diablo 4's Lords of Hatred. And, just like Diablo, I bought the base edition. And honestly, it felt like the better value proposition. Let me explain why. One of the psychologically damaging effects of digital deluxe cosmetics is that you've willingly paid somewhere between 50 and 80% extra for a shiny cosmetic override shaped like a golden bell end or something dangling off your helmet. And this creates two problems. First, people feel obligated to wear the expensive cosmetic because they paid real money for it. This means they've effectively locked themselves out of the visual progression of earning cooler gear naturally throughout gameplay, essentially making the game experience worse for themselves. And secondly, everyone looks the bloody same. I remember when seeing someone on a rare mount or with a unique transmog in Warcraft actually meant something. It meant you had put in the work. The Baron Rivendare mount. The Winter Spring Frost Saber. Sure, technically they were reskins of normal faction mounts, but if you were Alliance riding an undead horse, or you were Horde and you had raised a Venomhide Ravissor, that was a flex. And if my druid Ravensan rolled into battle on Anzu, my beautiful Raven daddy, people knew just exactly how much suffering had gone into getting that mount. Those cosmetics told stories. But now, if I see someone riding about on a collector's edition mount, all I think is, Belland. Now, admittedly, I'm slightly more ambivalent about WoW's current monetization model overall. On the positive, $9.99 a month for access to every previous expansion and the classic servers is a pretty solid value proposition. And if you have no interest in retail and you just want to experience WoW closer to its glory days, I can absolutely recommend it. But it's not without its psychological tricks. One thing that genuinely surprised me upon returning was the trading post system. On paper, it sounds fantastic. 500 trader tender included in your subscription, and another 500 earnable through gameplay. Plus, a cosmetic reward for completing the monthly track. Cool, free stuff! Except, the darker side of it completely hacked my brain. The insidious nature really hit me one evening when deciding what to do with my limited free gaming time. Do I play the shiny new Catgong game, Pragmata, which I genuinely enjoyed on stream? Or do I grind out a few more delves, finish my weeklies, and complete my trader's track before the reset? And suddenly, the decision-making process stopped being which game would be more fun, and became, well, it's Tuesday evening, resets tomorrow, and it's near the end of the month, so I really should finish the track so I don't lose my trader's tender. And that's when I realised Warcraft may have won the battle that evening, but it had lost the war. I cancelled my recurring subscription immediately after that. Not because I hated the game. Honestly, I achieved everything I wanted to this season. I finished the story, I cleared the raid content through LFR, I got a respectable gear score that meant I wouldn't be laughed out the DPS locker room, and I completed the solo seasonal challenge that gave me a pretty cool mount. Also, I genuinely appreciated the HD remake of the Tier 2 armour transmogs. Yes, they are technically loot boxes, but they are fully earnable in-game, bad luck protected, and the loot pool is limited enough so that you can comfortably complete the set within the month while paying half attention, farming ritual sites, and listening to Josh Strythe educate his chat while wearing cat ears. I genuinely enjoyed returning to Warcraft, but by cancelling the auto-renew on my subscription, I gave myself a definitive endpoint, a clear stopping point. Much like Diablo's seasonal structure, I'll probably come back for more next season during the September update. But until then, I got shit to do. Like, presumably editing the next Halfwits video, which I should probably be doing right now. That's not the point, leave me alone. And finally, we arrive at Helldivers 2. Now, once again, I was there at launch. In fact, it was one of the last games that me and Dad were able to properly play together. Which was especially funny, because the man struggled with texting, never mind inputting stratagem commands under pressure. So I had to print out a massive A4 cheat sheet and tape it to the side of his monitor with key commands for machine gun, reinforce, resupply. And at the start of every mission, getting him kitted out was like being a stressed out mum preparing their packed lunch and tying their kid's shoelace before school. Right, Dad, you've got your ammo, your stims, your anti-tank. Don't lick any strange bugs and try not to die in the first 30 seconds. So we played for a few months, mostly hovering around difficulty tiers 3 to 4. I got to around level 20 and eventually earned enough super credits to unlock the first of the war bonds. But after we stopped being able to play together, Helldivers 2 just sat untouched in my Steam library for a couple of years. Then, it turned out some of the lads from our Tuesday gaming group were massively into it. So, Helldivers became our default D&D got cancelled backup game. We even recruited Spin into our little Helldiver cult. And despite only starting recently, the man got dangerously addicted. I'm genuinely a bit concerned about him. He very quickly overtook me in level, and can now be found most evenings solo grinding low tier missions for samples and medals while proudly spreading democracy across some forgotten arse crack of the galaxy. A bit like being a Lib Dem on the campaign trail, come to think of it. I really enjoy Helldivers 2 with the lads, but it's not a game I'd personally choose to grind solo for 8 hours straight. Again, I've got shit to do. My never-ending pile of Warhammer models isn't going to build and paint itself. So eventually, I hit a bottleneck in my Helldivers progression. I'd more or less finished the default war bond, the second one that I bought when I was still playing with Dad. And while I could still earn super credits with the boys, it wasn't fast enough to unlock the newer war bonds at any meaningful pace. Especially when some cool Judge Dredd looking helmet rotates through the shop and immediately consumes half my balance. Meanwhile, I have this massive stockpile of medals piling up with absolutely nothing interesting to spend them on. So, I started looking at the super credit store and doing some dangerous mental mathematics. For just $79.99, basically the price of a brand new AAA release or some deluxe edition scam package these days, I could get 13,000 super credits. Now, to unlock every war bond I currently don't own would take me around 22,000 credits. So no, it wouldn't completely catch me up. But it would get me roughly 2/3 of the way there. And more importantly, it would give me loads of build variety, new stratagems, more weapons to dump medals into, and by the time I unlocked everything, I'd probably have earned enough super credits to naturally buy the remaining war bonds anyway. This led to an interesting conversation with Mike on one of my streams. Every single time I mentioned maybe spending money on Helldivers, he would smugly respond with, "Well, I've unlocked every war bond in the game and maxed everything out, and I've not spent a single penny." Then he would just stand there smugly waiting for me to praise him like I was about to pat his head or rub his tummy. Now, yes, Mike is absolutely the hardcore Helldiver of our group. The man currently holds the title of Redacted, and I can definitely confirm he is one of the most redacted individuals I know. So I asked him, "Mike, you're hardly the average player, you do know that, right? Exactly how many hours have you sunk into Helldivers since launch?" To which he replied, "Oh, not that many. According to Steam, around 320? 320? My most played game on Steam is Destiny 2. A game that me, Dad, and my sister played for several hours a day for nearly 2 years solid during lockdown. And even that only sits at around 292 hours. Then I made the mistake of asking another question. "Michael, how many hours do you have in Factorio?" "About 560. And then the bastard hit me with, "And that's not even my most played game. I've got 1,782 hours in Hell Let Loose." What the ever-loving monkey nuts? How have you raised a family, held down a job, and still found time to invade my streams purely to annoy me? Have you discovered the reverse Song of Time for Majora's Mask and have somehow doubled the amount of hours in the day? Well, you know, when the game scratches the itch for me, I lock in. I think you've gone well beyond scratching the itch and moved directly into sanding through flesh and exposing bone. He then hit me with a question of his own. "But how many games do you own on Steam?" "I own 118. Maybe a few more? Okay, a lot more. Okay, 1088. But that's not the point. And stop judging my extensive TTRPG collection. Variety is the spice of life, alright? I like to experience new things. Yes, we noticed, Mr. Flaky. And honestly, in that moment, it became crystal clear to me that me and Mike are fundamentally different types of gamers. One of us likes to go wide, the other likes to go deep. Thankfully, the missus says she prefers wide, which I'm still not entirely sure is a compliment, and would generally rather not analyse too deeply. So bringing this rambling disaster back to some kind of coherent point, why am I seriously considering giving Helldivers 2 another 80 quid for my next paycheck, when World of Warcraft and Diablo 4 can frankly suck an ice lolly made of Milo's frozen farts? Well, I think it comes down to a few things. First, I enjoy playing it casually with my friends, but I don't feel pressured to grind it endlessly like Spin. Secondly, I know if I did know life the game like Mike, I could absolutely unlock all the war bonds for free. And even then, I still need to go on ridiculous missions with my mates in order to unlock the medals needed for all the cool gear. Meaning that the unlocks actually feel attached to stories and experiences. Oh yeah, we unlocked that mech with the super rare samples that we got when we fed Spin to the Hive Tyrant. That bought us enough time to extract. Ah, fun times. That kind of thing matters. And thirdly, arguably, the most important one of all, I never felt psychologically tricked by Helldivers 2. Which, admittedly, might be the best psychological trick of them all. No flash sale countdowns, no buy now or lose it forever nonsense, no manipulative urgency, just here's some content, buy it if you want, or don't. We don't care. You're gonna die anyway. And honestly, that goes a long way. It's a slower month for games coming up. I've got a bit of disposable income. And I genuinely don't mind supporting this particular developer with a one-off purchase for making a damn good co-op game that respects my time and doesn't treat me like a whale waiting to be harpooned. So congratulations, Arrowhead Games. In a sea of predatory bollocks and blood-sucking monetisation leeches, you suck the least. You may have my £80. Now, if you can kindly give me a weapon capable of dealing with those paprika-covered bastards that make the rest of the bugs reenact the scenes from World War Z, that would be greatly appreciated. Yindy out.
The chest of dragons near, spell or sword, we've got no fear. Party storm the dice below, Yindy's book where we all control.